soon and we get to meet each other in person. And at the moment, though, an Instagram Live is probably the best other option that we have. And like I said, I hope you guys are at home. You all are safe. The next half hour or so, we're going to have some fun. And I know as an RCB fan myself, how every one of us have been waiting for this for quite some time now, right? And Mike Hesson joined us in the second half of 2019. And we've seen a lot from him as part of New Zealand. We saw him have a stint with the Kings 11 Punjab. But the fact that he is now part of the RCB clan, there you go, he has a message there, so I'm going to quickly try to bring him on board. It's very exciting, and he's been doing such a good job in sending us videos every time he's been following Team India or the domestic circuit, and we've gotten to hear from him. But we haven't necessarily had a chance to interact with him, so what better time to talk to Mike than now? So I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to try to get Mike on board. All right, go live with Mike. Sent you the request. I'm going to wait for you to come on board. There you go.
Navneet, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. Good to have you.
Yeah, no, nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to meet in person, and hopefully that would have happened had the season happened. But for now, I'm happy wearing the RCB jersey once again, and it's good to be talking to you.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be here. There's certainly been a lot of interest around RCB, and I've been engaged for a while, but haven't really engaged with any of the fans or yourself. So, as you quite rightly said, we all would have hoped that would have happened a week or so ago.
Just before we get to everything to do with RCB, Mike, tell us a little bit about how you've been doing. You've been in India for over a month now, and you're not far away from us. You're right here in Bangalore. And tell us a little bit about how life in a little apartment is. You sent us that video to us not long ago, so we have a glimpse of what you've been up to. But how's life been in the last few days?
Oh, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day. I think for all of us, it's a bit the same. But look, you try and make yourself as busy as you can and try and make your days as productive as they can be. So there's certainly a balance. I'm missing my girls from home, and certainly talk to them every morning, which is a real lift. Whether I was at the IPL or not, I would still be doing that anyway. Obviously away from home at this time of the year, but obviously things are a bit different. So I'm doing a bit of cooking and trying to keep myself in shape within these 4 walls or 6 walls. So look, it is what it is. We're all in a difficult situation. We're all trying to make the best of it. But watching a little bit of TV, certainly doing a bit of work as well, which keeps me engaged well.
Have you been doing a few things that you otherwise wouldn't be doing if not for the lockdown?
Yeah, I have. I've been doing a few weights, which is never really my go-to. I normally jump on a treadmill or go for a run. So doing a bit of that. I've probably done a little bit of binging on Netflix, which is not really my cup of tea, but try and find something that keeps yourself amused. Doing a bit of Indian cooking, which often you go for easier options, but when you got a bit of time, it's actually quite interesting to explore a few more options.
Very interesting. And you spoke about Netflix. I've been doing a bit of that myself. I've actually been cooking a lot more than ever before because I'm now the head chef in the house, since mom and wife aren't here. They're in different countries. So that's something that I've been doing quite a bit. Is there any show that you've been binge watching quite a bit in the recent past?
I'm actually watching a program called Rake, which is an Australian sort of comedy, law sort of comedy. I don't normally watch many Australian things, but it's actually not too bad.
Nice. If there's one recommendation that I have for you, it's Money Heist for sure.
Okay, I'll write that down. Always looking for something else in the middle of the night when you wake up.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I did that over a weekend. It was quite nice.
Nice.
Tell us a little bit about RCB, Mike, your journey. It started off just a few months before. Talk to us at that time when you got to know that you're going to be coming on board as Director of Cricket Operations for RCB.
Yeah, it sort of happened. It was quite an interesting time, really. I came over to India for the job interview for the Indian head coach. And at the same time, I'd been in touch with RCB. So I was really keen to obviously do my interview, but to talk to RCB about the role, because it is a new role. And as soon as I got to talk to Sanjeev and Rajesh from RCB, I was really stimulated about coming in and trying to make a difference. Often as a head coach, if you only arrive, a few days before or a week before the tournament starts, your impact can be limited, whereas the actual opportunity to come over here, engage with the business, actually put some strategies in place around RCB moving forward for not just this year but beyond was actually really stimulating, and something that I was able to do with Otago firstly back in New Zealand, with the Black Caps as well. We actually spend a good period of time and are quite strategic around how you want to plan for the future. So, that with RCB was exciting. Then obviously came over with the auction planning in mind, the retention, recruitment, and probably equally as important as putting the support staff together. There was some existing staff which were really good, and there was also some new faces as well, and we had to find a number of different places or a number of different members of staff, which we did. So, really enjoyed that part of the process as well, and also getting to know Simon and the rest of the coaches as well.
And it wasn't just with the support staff and the team that you were putting together. I noticed that you were very active on your social platforms as well ever since you came on board, and you were very closely following the Indian team, India's domestic circuit, and especially the RCB players over there. And you made it a point to put out videos every now and then about your observations. And that, I think, resonated very well with the fans because they got to hear from you a lot more. Tell us a little bit about your thought process about just doing all of that and interacting with the fans so much more.
Yeah, to be fair, the social platforms are quite new for me. When I coached New Zealand for over 6 years, I didn't have any social media platforms at all. And I think as a head coach of a national team, personally, I think that was a good idea. Because you get so much advice, you could potentially get confused. So, look, for me, when you do a job like this, you need to fully immerse yourself in the job. So that's what I've looked to do. A huge portion of the squad are, Indian local players. So for me to do the job well, I need to get to know the players. Obviously, and my first, stint was at the KPL, was in Mysore. So I went there for about a week, 10 days, got to know a lot of the local players. A lot of those players are obviously aligned with other IPL sides, but it got me to sort of see what was around. And that was probably my first look at Devdutt Padikkal in that sort of instance. And he played one innings where, you stood up and took notice and thought, look, or played a couple of shots where you thought, this guy's got a bit of something about him. And I like the fact that he was moved to the top of the order and he's obviously flourished since then. So, staying in touch with the local leagues is important, for those reasons. The other part is I still do commentary as well. So, both India and in New Zealand. So I guess that gives me the chance to keep a close eye on Indian international players, of which RCB have a number, especially in the white ball formats. So that gives me the opportunity to see players up close, to actually interact with.
On the outside, I've heard from so many people say about the connection that the fans have with the franchise here in Bangalore. And there's just more to it than just fans in a cricket club. Tell us a little bit about what you sense in the association that the fans have with RCB.
Well, I think they're educated as well, which I like. So therefore, when they do engage, majority of the time, there's actually some real common sense behind the comments. It's not just an emotive one. They've done some research and they love RCB. The fact that they've stuck with RCB through a period of time that's been challenging. Obviously, the last couple of years haven't been great. RCB's made a number of semi-finals, made it 3 finals. But the fact that the fans have stuck with them means that you're a true fan. And you do find that out. And New Zealand fans were very good as well. We had some pretty tough times initially and they stuck with us. But certainly when you do well, you do get a bit of a roller coaster and fans do tend to engage more. But yeah, I just like the fact that, as I said, they're educated, they're willing to offer their suggestions, and they're willing to understand that there's more than one way of doing things as well. So even though they might have a strong opinion, it's not always going to be taken on board. But hopefully they support us, and obviously if we win, it certainly helps.
Yeah, it obviously hasn't been easy for these 12 years, but I've seen some of these fans and they do everything possible to just show their support to the team. And that's just wonderful to see. And I know for sure that a lot of the comments are coming in, but they absolutely enjoyed bringing you. When you came on board, I could see how happy everyone were when you did join the team late last year. And coming to the lockdown itself, Mike, as I know how hard it is, but just staying indoors, everyone's doing their workouts, everyone's trying to stay in shape, but it isn't the same as going out there onto a cricket field, whether it's the nets or even a cricket match. How does someone stay sane in times like this? Because it's not something even the cricketers are used to.
No, it's not. And I think you've got to be creative. I think you've got to be flexible in terms of what you do. And I think that's so important as a cricketer. I mean, as a cricketer or as a coach, you basically are a problem solver, because every situation you go into is different. You know, as a batsman, every situation you go in is different. And you've got to maneuver yourself through to a victory. So you have to be able to solve a lot of problems along the way. And in many ways, the lockdown's the same. You know, you can't do things the way you've always done them. You do need to be creative. You do need to find ways that are going to still be helpful post-lockdown. And that's why when you see players, you know, with a golf ball or, you know, bouncing balls around or, you know, doing anything that potentially can still be helpful moving forward is great. And as I said, the game's about trying to be a problem solver. So every day you wake up, and even though I talk about it being Groundhog Day, you have to come up with some different ideas and different solutions to make sure that you still go to bed and you're not crazy. So yeah, I just like the idea of, you know, trying to think outside the square, and as do cricketers. So long may the RCB players continue to do that.
Have you been active on your social platforms? Because we're starting to see videos of cricketers doing everything possible to stay in shape. Yeah,
I've certainly been watching them. I've been watching the RCB boys. I mean, Navdeep Saini's a bit embarrassing in terms of when he takes his shirt off. I certainly won't be doing anything like that. He's a beauty. I mean, they're all good fun. As I said, they're all coming up with unique ways. Some of them have got gyms, some of them don't. Some of them have just got a bit of a living room. Some have got a backyard. But they're all finding ways to come up with something. And throughout the world, as I said, they've all got loads of different ideas. They've all got far better physiques than I do. So you certainly will never see me do a fitness video on here, but I'll be watching with interest, that's for sure.
You spoke about Navdeep Saini. I was on the Insta Live with him just yesterday. He was on the Boldness Fit Insta Live, and he did take off his shirt, or at least he showed us a glimpse of it, and he can put quite a lot of people to shame.
He certainly can. And I've seen him eat as well. He still eats a little bit as well. So I don't know, he must have a great metabolism, but his work ethic is fantastic. He's always got a big smile on his face, which is great. I think we all enjoy that. He's just a great guy to have around the team. I was lucky to meet with him a few times in New Zealand and get to know him a little bit. But yeah, he loves his fitness, and you can certainly tell that. I even saw him standing on all those the Coke cans. Phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal effort.
If there's one more person that I'm going to ask you if you follow him on Instagram or any of the social platforms, is Chahal. Do you follow Chahal on any of your social platforms?
Unfortunately, I do. That's just so I can keep an eye on him, really. He's,
you know what? Are you okay with Chahal not coming back onto the cricket field? Because he looks like he's going to be a TikTok superstar.
He certainly is. He's very good at it. I love the fact he's got his family into doing some dance moves and bits and pieces, which is very much him. But once again, I got to know him a little bit. Even in Bangalore, before the IPL started, he was here at the academy. So I spent a little bit of time, got to know him. He's got a great sense of humour. But he's certainly one I've got to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
He's been on every Insta Live that I've seen, and he's always commenting. I'm surprised that a comment hasn't come in from Yuzi just yet, and hopefully we'll get one soon. But he's been all over the place, and it's just good to see the creative side of all of our superstars that we see on TV every time.
Yep, definitely.
And the other thing that I wanted to ask you when I spoke to you about the lockdown and how people can stay creative, Mike, is I also noticed some of the former cricketers mentioning that it's probably a lot more difficult for the bowlers than it is for the batsmen. especially because they need that space to do their runs and just um, get that practice in. Is that something that you agree with, or it is everyone stand to lose with a situation like this?
No, I think definitely. I think the bowlers, because of their loading, so I mean they have to keep their body loaded in terms of being able to ramp it up come T20 side time. So let alone heading into a first class or a test format. So the fact they can't go out and do any loading on their body makes it particularly difficult. They can do some small skills, in a small space, even a hallway, in terms of their release, but they can't do anything in terms of that loading on their body. So that's particularly challenging. As I said, from a batting point of view, I think you can get up to speed a lot quicker. But the bowlers, it is a big challenge and difficult for them. But I know at RCB, Basu, our trainer, is doing some good work with the guys as well. So he'll continue to do that with the bowlers as well.
Have you been in touch with any of the RCB players? Just maybe it's the fitness or anything that they've been chatting about with you?
Yeah, I've been in touch with all of them at different times. So just to keep them up to date with what's happening or potentially happening. So, not that we have a huge amount of information, about the IPL at the moment, because it's a BCCI event. So we're obviously being led on that ourselves, but just keeping them up to date with the information that we do know. As you said, some of them, it is about their game. Some of them, it's just about making sure they relax a little bit and enjoy the break. For some of them, they've been playing non-stop, and the fact that they are being forced to have a break for a matter of weeks is, in many cases, a good thing. So just reassuring them that that'll be okay and they'll be able to jump back into the swing of things pretty quickly.
That's good to hear. And when we even watched the auctions very closely, and we saw some of the videos that RCB put out right after the auction, we knew that you all went in with a very strong plan, but it came through exactly the way you all wanted it to be. When we fought for Finch, Chris Morris, Kane Richardson, and all of them, right? So tell us a little bit about the planning and how it actually worked out the way you all wanted to, because we saw a bit of the videos and the mock auctions that you all had prior to that.
Yeah, look, I think we all knew that that Cummins was going to be the highest priced player. So we knew that, ideally he would have been a great option for us, but we also knew that because other teams had far more cash than us, we could always get bullied out of the way. So we had to identify who are the players that we felt fitted within our price bracket. And often, you win some and you lose some, in terms of you get some for a little bit less than you hope, and sometimes you play a little bit more for others. And that's the way auctions work. But we also knew that we couldn't allow Cummins to go for cheap. So we also knew that, you're always playing the game, aren't you? You always knew that we had to push the price of some players up to a point where it is about their game. Some of them, it's just about making sure they relax a little bit and enjoy the break. For some of them, they've been playing non-stop, and the fact that they are being forced to have a break for a matter of weeks is, in many cases, a good thing. So just reassuring them that that'll be okay and they'll be able to jump back into the swing of things pretty quickly.
That's good to hear. And when we even watched the auctions very closely, and we saw some of the videos that RCB put out right after the auction, we knew that you all went in with a very strong plan, but it came through exactly the way you all wanted it to be. When we fought for Finch, Chris Morris, Kane Richardson, and all of them, right? So tell us a little bit about the planning and how it actually worked out the way you all wanted to, because we saw a bit of the videos and the mock auctions that you all had prior to that.
Yeah, look, I think we all knew that that Cummins was going to be the highest priced player. So we knew that, ideally he would have been a great option for us, but we also knew that because other teams had far more cash than us, we could always get bullied out of the way. So we had to identify who are the players that we felt fitted within our price bracket. And often, you win some and you lose some, in terms of you get some for a little bit less than you hope, and sometimes you play a little bit more for others. And that's the way auctions work. But we also knew that we couldn't allow Cummins to go for cheap. So we also knew that, you're always playing the game, aren't you? You always knew that we had to push the price of some players up to a point where they couldn't bid for other ones that potentially we wanted. So it is very much a game, and that's where, when you do have the mock auctions, you play out a whole heap of different scenarios and you try and challenge yourself in those situations. So it's actually harder than the auction. As I said, what other budgets have got. You know what teams are likely to go for in terms of the players or the gaps that they have, and you also know that you're going to be in bidding wars for a few players as well. So we felt Finch was really important for us for another leadership person who provided leadership in the squad. So we think that winning sides have a number of good leaders in the group. And we think Finch is one of those. Obviously, he's an international leader, but he's also experienced enough to be able to share as well. So he's not going to be overawed in that leadership space. So we felt he was important. He's also ranked in the top 3 players the last 3 years in terms of T20 records. So, we looked at all our players over maybe a 2 to 3 year ranking. So we wanted guys that were consistent over a big period of time, and he was certainly one of those. We obviously knew that death bowling was going to be important for us, and at Chinnaswamy in particular, you need at least 3 death bowling options. So we knew Morris, has some good skills in that area. We know Kane Richardson certainly does. Dale Staines big up front, and he's also developed some other slow ball options, which was important for us to see heading into this auction. We also felt that going to slower surfaces, the likes of Udana was going to be important, so that we weren't just one-dimensional. We didn't have all the same types of players. We needed some other players that could provide some depth at the death, and also provide some batting finishing skills as well. Whether that be at sort of around that 8-9 mark as well. So we were really clear on the skill sets that we wanted, and we were fortunate that majority of it worked out pretty well.
And as your role of Director of Cricket Operations, can you tell us a little bit about how that is different from the role of a head coach that you would generally play, like for Kings 11 or even for New Zealand for the longest time?
Yeah, well, it's a year-round role, so it's not a role where you just come in and out. It's a role where you run the cricket side of the business. So all the support staff report to you in terms of making sure that you've got those support staff doing their work throughout the year. As I said, it's getting to know all the stakeholders within the cricket business. So obviously people at the ground, at Chinnaswamy, all of the RCB staff here, the boards, obviously the owners, or the Diageo, who obviously a big component of the business, getting to know the sponsors, the different other sides of the business in terms of how you can help. So with the players, they've got a lot of engagements with sponsors. So it's working with the marketing people within RCB. And then getting to know all the coaches and working with them, so that when we do go to auctions, it's not just my view or Simon's view. In many ways, it's a collective view. So getting input from the likes of Adam Griffith, Sriram Sridharam, obviously Virat, some of the senior players as well. So you're actually gathering a lot of information from a lot of people, and then working with Simon around the cricket side. And when you're actually in the playing phase, obviously Virat, Simon and myself will have a big say around that, but on the field of play, Simon and Virat will take that leadership role, and then I'll be there to sort of offer support and help where required. So it's quite an all-encompassing role, but one that's, as I said, I think can have an impact over not just 1 year, over a decent period of time as well.
And I think that explains why you spend more time here in India than some of the other folks as well.
Yeah, look, it does. And I think when you take on a role as well, you need to get a lot more background information. And that's a big part of what I've tried to do, is get over here, as I said, fully immerse myself in the role. So get to know people, key people in the role, get to know the environment that you're working in, the players. So therefore you make informed decisions rather than, come in and out and only know part of the story. So that will continue. I don't think I know everything yet, but certainly enjoying starting to get to know the business and RCB more.
Have you learned a little bit of Kannada or Hindi yourself, Mike, with all the time that you've spent here in India?
Yeah, I have. More Hindi. I did my introduction before, Shubha Mariana, which I think is good afternoon. And
Good
I
afternoon,
know
yes.
a little bit of Kannada, but I'm certainly a bit less than that. I know a little bit more Hindi, having spent a bit of time here before. Yeah, I don't know if you want to hear any, but it's all pretty basic stuff.
Well, the 700 plus that are there, I wouldn't mind hearing a line or two, I think.
No, I mean namaste. Mera naam Kesan hai. मैं cricket field से belong करता हूँ. मैं RCB का director of cricket हूँ.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that, Mike. Well done. Right, so what we're going to do is we just have a few minutes left. I have a few questions that I'm going to fire at you, Mike, and I want you to answer as quickly as you can.
Okay,
all right?
Give him a bit shot.
Yeah. One coach that you look up to outside of cricket.
Oh, crikey. Phil Jackson, basketball.
Okay. Yeah. Your favorite commentator? Any sport, doesn't have to be cricket only.
Ian Smith.
Ian Smith. You know what? That was going to be my next question. Which piece of commentary would you pick from these three? And Dhoni finishes off in style of magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years by Ravi Shastri.
Yeah.
England win the World Cup by the barest of margins. By the barest of margins. Ecstasy for England and agony for New Zealand. And Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name, obviously Ian Bishop. So which one would you pick?
Oh, I still think I've watched the 2011 World Cup final here on Star Sports a number of times the last few weeks. So I do love that commentary. I'm never even going to think about the 2019 Cricket World Cup. Still haven't that.
A wrong question, probably. All right, the one thing that you love about RCB?
Oh, I love the passion of the fans.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just second to none. Your favorite cricket ground?
I'm going to say Eden Park because it's a really strange cricket ground, but been part of so many magnificent games of cricket. It's quite a unique ground, great test matches. Obviously, the World Cup semi-final in 2015 was a big highlight as well. And beating Australia there a few times is always a big highlight. So I'm going to have to say Eden Park.
Awesome. All right. Oh, this is an interesting one. Broadcaster or director?
Broadcaster.
Ah, why do you say that?
I like to be sort of I like to actually enjoy the game. I think if you're more a director in the background, you often end up staring at TV screens all the time and not actually enjoying the game. So I'd rather be in amongst the game.
Fair enough. All right. What's the first thing that you're going to do right after the lockdown ends?